Hello everyone, I'm Carolyn from Tranquil Mentor, and welcome to our channel. Today we're going to be using these glass laboratory flasks from Dollar Tree to make an apothecary tier tray. And I'm just going to get them opened up so you could see how beautiful they are. They have two sizes. I was able to get two of the larger ones and the rest were small, but you can see the size difference here, and they both have corks in them. They're so pretty. And what we're going to be doing is making some waterproof labels. This is a 11 by 17 Subli wrap from WalaSub. It is Sublimation Adhesive Vinyl Wrap. That's the actual name of it. I've taken a piece here that it is 11 by 17, but what I've done is I've cut it in half so that I got double the sheets. I ended up starting out with the Cricut with this and tried to do print and cut, and it really didn't work. I've had to do this workaround. What I ended up doing was just sublimating the labels on top of the WalaSub, because the WalaSub does not go through my printer, and I absolutely love the product, but there's so many things that I can't do with it, but there's a lot of things that I can do with it. So I've just come up with some workarounds. I end up cutting out the labels, and I do have a video on a larger cutout workaround for a decal, and I will link that in the description below. And what I'm doing now is I'm just taping and taping and taping. It seems excessive, but I've got a lot of success with the small pieces of tape on the side and then taping it down to the paper. And what I'm doing is going back on what I did just to show you that it take a little bit more time, just to show you that there's a little piece of tape on there where there was a tear, but I just wanted to show you a little bit better what I did. And then I've taken the top sheet, some butcher paper, and I'm going to put this on the heat press. We're going to heat this at 380 for 30 seconds. I found that works the best for the sublimation paper, but one of the things that I just have to remember is that I have to do workarounds with this because it won't go through. I have an Epson converted printer, Epson sublimation printer, and these have to be sublimated. All right, and it's very, very hot, of course, when it comes out. And what I'm going to do is open this up so you can see. And you don't have to have those registration marks because they don't matter in this instance, because it didn't do the print and cut. And I think the paper is just too shiny or something. Now, I have seen other people do it. I know, I'm trying to think of Creative Cottage. I'll think of it. I believe her name's Angie Holden, and if I find the video, I'll link that below. She actually gets it to work. I have a Maker 3. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but this is how it turns out. And again, you don't need the registration marks because these are just going to be, I'm going to cut these by hand. And I just absolutely love them. And I've cut the paper down and it curls up like crazy. So if that drives you crazy, don't use this. Try to use something else, another method, but it curls like crazy. So what I'm doing is I'm just reversing it. I'm taking my scissor and I'm just going to, these are all square. So I'm just cutting close as I can. And that could be another problem too, is that, you know, maybe I put everything too close together, or maybe in the Maker 3, the print and cut doesn't work on the WalaSub. That could be it too. All right, and here's how our first one turned out. And then I'm just going to separate this. It has an adhesive back all ready to be done as a label. And I do have a little bit of water in there, but it didn't matter because these are waterproof. So what I'm doing now is I have my little 3D printed helper here. I'm going to get that label on, and they're just going to go right on. They have the adhesive. Now, I'm a little bit unhappy with that, so you could see it's easily removed, and I can put that right back on. And I do think that looks better. I have it much more centered. Before it was a little crooked. And here I'll show you a closer view. I just love it. I mean, it comes out almost like a photo. This is a tier tray before it's done. I use Masonite because I can paint it and it's much more affordable. And this is a very large tier tray. So I used that and I adhered it together with my C8 glue. Now I used my laser again. I needed these pieces specifically cut a certain size. I had this paper that I got from Joann's on sale, and I wanted to cut these little pieces out, and I wanted to put them on the tier tray. So I measured out the ones that I wanted, and I cut the size and I painted them black with Rust-Oleum black paint. And I didn't paint this side of the Masonite because I didn't have to. You're not going to see it, basically. So I'm just going to again take my scissors. I'm going to use that 31st, and I'm going to cut around that, and just very, very slowly take my time. And then we'll do our old Mod Podge, and that I got from Dollar Tree. And what we'll do is just put a generous layer on here. Mod Podge is just so forgiving. I love working with it. Very, very easy to use. And then I'm lining up the edges here, and we'll be sanding them later. We really don't have to worry about any of the overhang, but I cut them pretty precise, and then the sandpaper block, the sponge sander will help. All right, and then I let those dry. I really let them dry overnight because it was just, I even put a few coats on them. I went horizontal and then vertical and then horizontal. I let them dry overnight, and now what I'm doing is taking my sanding block and just sanding the edges. I did get that sanding block from Dollar Tree, but I was in another state. I think it was North Carolina, and I'm from Florida. But I found that block, and what I've been doing is just taking a block from Dollar Tree and sticking that in from my local Dollar Tree. And then I'm sanding those edges, and then here is my tray painted. I did miss a little bit, so I'm going to take it back in, and that was the black Rust-Oleum. I've got all my pieces glued up and everything. Here is our first Apothecary bottle. I've taken that from, I got it from Christmas. It was a coffee from, you put coffee flavoring in it, and I had it on my coffee bar. And now that I used them all, I'm going to use them for another project. I got the eyeballs from Michael's. They're just beads. And then I've got my eyeball label. And then this vegetable glycerin is from Temu, but you can get it from, not really convenience stores, but stores like CVS, Walgreens, pharmacy type stores. You can get it Walmart if you have stores like that. And then I take about 5 or 6 drops of this glycerin, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Now I pulled out cherry red out of my food coloring batch here, and it really wasn't giving the color that I wanted. I wanted to kind of look like old blood. So I'm going back in here. I've got a red, and I'm going to open that up. And that's another thing too. You can start out very light with just a little bit and more water. And you can change the color to your heart's content. And now I did get this a little bit redder, and we'll see. And I've got this mica powder that I got from Dollar Tree. I never usually see it, and I was walking through the aisle and it was right there. Couldn't believe that I found it. I didn't find the resin though. I'm dying to try the resin. But this is the mica powder, and what a deal. I think there was 6 in a pack for $1.25. So I'm shaking this up, and I like it, but I may go a little bit more redder, but that's giving me closer to the look that I'm looking for. It's just, you know, like old bloody eyeballs. And I'm showing you the side here, kind of how that looks. And the mica powder really gives it that extra little effect there. And of course, if you didn't have mica powder and you did the clear, if you did water, it would be just fine. Glitter, anything like that. Now, this is red, real red. So just like plain red. I'm not happy here, so I'm going to put more red in here and just get to the effect that I'm looking for. And you can take out, you can put back in. It's very forgiving. You just have fun with it, and you take your time. Enjoy what you're doing. And there's that red. It's got a lot more of that reddened look. I really like that. old red blood. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears here a little bit because this project had a lot of drawing in between, so I kind of had to go back and forth between the projects for the tier tray. So I've got a book stack that I made, and I cut it on my saw. I have a miter saw, and I cut them on there and painted them and distressed them. And then I went to Michael's and I got these larger letters because I want this to look not so perfect. I want it to look just a little bit unkept and kind of creepy. So I'm taking my little makeup sponge that I use, and I just have that gold metallic paint, and I'm just touching up. Now I've got a baby white, and I'm just taking off a little bit of that extra paint, and then I'm lining up with the bottom, and I'm looking over to the right of it, and there we go. We've got our L, and I work backwards. I'm typing, or I'm putting in spells, and because all of it is, if I only have one letter of each, so I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to finish that up. It'll say spells. We're switching gears again. We're going to go back to some of those bottles while other parts of the project dry, and then I'm taking him, and this was a suggestion that John had. The items that I was putting in the bottles were floating, and he was saying get something larger that doesn't have room to float up. So then I thought, I saw the big spider, and the spider's inside the webbing that I made the cauldron with, and I will link that video below too. But those are the spiders from there. And then taking my glycerin, I don't have too much rhyme or reason with the glycerin. I would say I typically put in probably about 5 or 6 drops, and sometimes more, sometimes less. So I just looked at it and just looked for the look, that I wanted. That was very green. So what I did off camera was I poured a lot of it out and diluted it. I wanted to be able to see the spider through. And then I thought some gold would be good. I was just trying to mix colors together that I thought that would stand out. And this is the gold metallic mica powder, and that is also the Dollar Tree mica powder. And just look at that. I mean, and you have to shake these, of course, but the look of that is so incredible. I just love the way that it comes out. This is from another project. I took the skulls off of it, and going with that non-floating deal that we had before, I wanted to make bat wings. So I had these bows left over, and I thought, well, they would make great bat wings, and if I make them big enough, they're not going to float up. They're going to stay down. So I cut a few pieces of them just to see what would happen, and I slipped them in, and there we go. And we'll cut a few more. If you cut too close to the edge, you'll cut all the pieces don't have anything to hold on to, so you have to cut to where there's something to hold on to for it. And then I'm just figuring out how this is going to look. I can fit a lot more of them. Just cut them nice and thin. And that's something that can stay in water, and it's not like paper or anything. That's what I had to gather things around, and I had to just take a look in my stash, see what I had, and pull all of it together. And then I've got some yellow. I'm going to put some yellow in there with some green, and you can try doing colors that would blend together or colors that are opposite from each other. Anything. The sky is the limit with it. And then once you shake that up, you can see once it settles too, you can see it a little bit more, because it doesn't stay suspended for very long. And then here is our Raven's Curse. I had some black foam. I got it from the Creatology section from Michael's a long time ago, and I've had it on hand. The only thing was it was the adhesive one. I didn't have the non-adhesive. What I'll do is I'm just going to I traced those out in a wing color, and then I just used one as a pattern. And then the next few, I just made them whatever way I wanted. I didn't want them to be that exact. So I took this mica powder, and that will get rid of that stickiness and the adhesive in there. And it will serve as a dual purpose, really. So we'll take that, and then in order to get them in, I had to curl them up. So I curl them inside of each other. And then we'll get that stuffed in, and just couldn't get them in, so I had to twist them. And then there we go, just get them in there with my little pick thing, my skewer. All right, and then I made a second set because it didn't look like enough. And then now I went in and I did red. I thought it would look really good with red and then the gold mica powder. And the popsicle sticks do really good if you don't have a little mica powder spoon or anything. I didn't have anything like that, so I just used the popsicle sticks that I had on hand. And then here's our glycerin, about 5 or 6 drops again. Just shake it up, and that gold is just really showing up nicely. And you can just see the wings just hanging out in there. And I like the way they look like they're just clogged and stuck in there. All right, and then here is how the bat wings look. So different, just something really, really different. This was so exciting to me. I loved this part. I always wanted to do the dragon scales. So I got this, of course, from Dollar Tree. Now this has been around in my arsenal of craft stuff from Joann's for years. I've had it so long. We're going to make, to look like dragon scales, we're going to combine a lot of glitter, different colors. Now, this was around St. Patrick's, I think, a while back. It was at Dollar Tree. That's when I started seeing it. And they have, if you keep your eye out and you see these 3 packs, you can get some really different looking colors. Very, very pretty. And you can get a lot, and it's $1.25. So I always grab it when I see it, and I hold on to it. And then I'm mixing a little bit more of another green. And then as I go through, I just open up my little caddy here. I open up the compartment for what I want, and I'm stirring this around just to try to see what we have so far. Just try to see the differentiation. And on the camera, you can't see too much differentiation of the colors, but I'll start working on that. Now, that was some white that I had, and that was just from Michael's. I had seen it as I was walking through the aisle. And then here's a little bit more pink, because I'm trying to get more colors in here to make it look more pastel-y and rainbowy. And then those are also from Dollar Tree, and they're hexagon shaped, and I thought that would look like scales. I didn't find any of a different color, and I think that would have really been cool to have the different color scales in there, but I didn't have anything like that. I would put a little bit more of, well, actually this is a new color that I'm putting in, kind of like a light turquoise, and then it needed some purple, so I mixed that in. I just keep going until I get, I'm putting more of the little gold flecks in, the little hexagons, and then I'm going to take that, and this reason why I folded the parchment paper was I felt like I could get everything in, and it would be an easier of a cleanup too. Some of them didn't make it, but that's okay. And then look at how that came out. I mean, I just love it. I'm going to put glycerin and food coloring in it and everything, but I just love the way that looks. Let's see. This is a really brilliant purple. And I think purple would just really look perfect in there. So we'll get our water in. And got some water. We'll get our glycerin in. And this had an effect that was so different. It layered itself, and I don't know if it's the shape of the flask or the thickness of the glycerin, but every time that I picked it up, it was separated it where the purple was in the middle, and then of course I would shake it and it would even its way out. But I just think it added to it when it had that purple line in the middle, and you'll see that later on in the video too. And then I added some more water too, and as I went along, if things needed more water, I took water out, I put water in, and just changed it for the look that I was going for. And then, I mean, I love that. Now I had to take glue, I think it was Loctite glue, finally, and that is what kept that down. For some reason, that little edge, it was the only bottle that wanted to stand up, and I just put that in. But look at how that separation goes too, of the purple. All right, and moving on here, we've got a lot of bottles here, so I'm trying to give you all of the highlights as best we can. And I'm shaking this one up, and then what I'm going to do too is I'm going to finish these off camera because the video is going along pretty long here. I want to make some pieces for these bottles. This is my snake venom bottle. I put gold in there too, and yellow. I'm going to make a snake that goes around the flask, the top of the flask there. So I go through, I'm making his little head. I could have probably done that later maybe, but, and really just made kind of a diamond shaped for his head. And then here I do end up just flattening his head out. And there we go. So I got that wrapped around, and of course we'll paint it. But this little tool that I have here, which is just a skewer, I'm making that diamond shape again because when I was putting it on, I messed it up. So, and we'll paint that snake when it dries. I usually have to do everything the next day with the air dry clay. And then I wanted to add a little bit of touch to everything. I got this spider ribbon from Joann, and it was 60% off, and later it ended up being 70% off, and I should have went and got more, but there wasn't really very much of it left anyway. But I love the extra little touch that it has here. And then on some of the bottles, as I show you the chair tray completed, you'll see that I did different kinds of jute and different kinds of tops and put spiders on things, and I'll show you all that. And then this guy is one of those pumpkins that you get just in the package, the little foam pumpkins, and it's off-white. So I painted his little face on there and painted him black, and then I made an eyeball out of air dry clay and just painted it. And then after it dried, I'm going to glue that right on the top, and I'm just going to hold on to it until it gets set. All right, so the eyeballs have an eyeball on the top, and then this, and I love the way that's staring at you. And then I painted the snake with, that's pearl, like a white pearl paint, and I just painted him black, and then I did white pearl over and made a little face on him. And then the unfiltered poison is just black with mica powder, like silver mica powder. And then I'm just going to cut this guy, and just be careful because he's going to go flying. I'm going to cut that little piece, and I thought that stem was a little bit too tall. I didn't paint the bottom of it, I just spray painted it, and then I painted the little face on there just with acrylic paint. And I'm going to hold that real tight until that sets. And there is our unfiltered poison with our pumpkin. It's kind of hard to see this one because it is black, but I wanted it to look like unfiltered poison. So you'll see black, and here we have it. This is the finished tier tray. I'm just zooming in here a little bit to show you. There's our snake venom, and I put the little face on him, and our death potion, and then you can see the little ribbon and some of the jute. And then we'll go up, we've got our raven's curse here, our books, black cat apothecary, and there is the assorted eyeballs. Now another one is the goo, And that's on a puck light from Dollar Tree. That is, I think it's called Grisley Barnes font from Kittl, which made the goo. And there's the mermaid tears. I have glued a mermaid tail on top, and there is little beach sand in there with shells. I just put beach sand and shells in the bottom of the mermaid tears, and then I'm gonna shake. I'm trying not to shake the camera too much, but I'm showing you the eyeballs, and they just look so spooky and real in there, just bloody. And I'm trying to get, I know the camera's not catching it totally, but I'm trying to zoom in on it a little bit and show you a little bit closer, and we can do that in a little bit. But the Black Cat Apothecary sign is from Creative Fabrica, and I ended up doing that later. The goo is that font from Kittl. It's called Grisley. I'll link it below. Then I just put some jute around some of the bottles. That little bottle is from Dollar Tree too, that's on top of the spells and curses. And then I'm going to zoom in again here, and I'm showing you how it looks when it's settled. And I know I'm shaking my camera. And then it'll look like that. It will settle. It doesn't stay suspended. So it will look like that. So when you go up to it, and you give each bottle a shake, then it will do the suspension of the glycerin. It'll put the mica powder in. And I'll give you a closer look here of what to expect. See, it kind of does, and it's a different sometimes too, from one time to the other, of how it suspends. But it's just so interesting of the effect. I love all the bottles, but that's one of my favorite ones. It's the larger ones. And then we have the skull on top from the skull beads at Dollar Tree. I painted that one black. We've got our dragon scales back there, and our bats, the bat wings. And here I'm showing you that separation of the purple that just sort of stays in the middle. It's such an awesome effect. And you can shake it, you can get it to mix in, but once it settles, it all stays in there. But I really do think it's the shape of the bottle too, and maybe the thickness of all of the glitter that's in there. And then there's some bat lights down at the bottom that are always at Dollar Tree every year. And a doily. Those doilies, you'll find them in the party section. And then here's our guy, our creepy spider, and he just looks so scary in there. And then I put a little spider around the top too. And then some of the bottles have jute. I just wanted to make sure I've got also some beaded garland there too. If you make an apothecary tier tray, share the inspiration and tag us on Instagram at Tranquil_mentor, or visit us on Facebook at Tranquil Mentor. If you're already one of our subscribers, welcome back, and thanks for watching our video today. And if you're not a subscriber, welcome to our channel. And if you would be so kind to subscribe and like our video, it helps YouTube notice us a little bit more, and it supports our channel and helps us to grow. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.